Hi everyone, today I wanted to talk about something different. Not something about playing, but something about the mental side of performing. And that is about nervousness and getting nervous. I would like to be able to change the definition of getting nervous or having nerves to meaning that you just care. You care about how you're going to present yourself. You care that you're going to live up to the standard of what you've set for how you think you can play. You care about what people think about how you play. That's what we want. We want people to care about what it is we're doing. So in my book, nervousness and being nervous and having nerves, that's all just a good sign. It's all a sign that you care, okay? That said, getting nervous can be very frustrating because you can put all of this work in and then you get onto stage and you start to play and you're not able to execute in the way that you know you should be able to or that you want to be able to execute. So with that in mind, I just want to talk about two sides of getting nervous. Okay, the first is, and how to deal with it. The first side is the preparation, and then the second side is how you deal with it on the actual day of the concert. Okay, so if we're talking preparation, as an example, I'm going to use the opening of Haydn, Opus 76, number 5, the slow movement. Okay, this is a beautiful slow movement. It's an F sharp major, so it's a thorny key. But more importantly, the way I got nervous, or the way I've dealt with it over the years, is my bow would shake. And so when I would start this movement, you could see having shaky bow during that would be pretty devastating, right? Because you want it to have this beautiful, long feeling. And so the way I worked on it was many-fold. Okay, so in the preparation side of it. The first is you have to understand what it is, where in the bow, for me, where in the bow it gets shaky, okay? So for me, it was always on down bows. When I got about here, when I got from that the transition from my shoulder doing all the work to then my elbow coming out, okay? So when I got to about there, it might start to shake, okay? So what I had to really learn is to practice in a way that I was very relaxed and very aware of that smooth transition, the transition from opening the shoulder up to then opening the elbow up, okay? So I would practice that with scales to start. So let's just take C major. So I would play scales in the feeling of the movement, okay? So this is the largo, I think it's largo and cantabile and singing in mesto, okay? So I would play with that feeling, scales. Really thinking about the transitions. Opening the shoulder and then opening the elbow. And doing this in a way physically, that I was really relaxed, okay? This is an essential point. I had an example, we were playing in a competition, our quartet was playing in a competition when we were students. And I knew when you get into a competition, you get tight, right? So in hindsight, this was a silly thing to do, but the way I prepared for it was I practiced tight, okay? So if we were playing this Haydn, I would have practiced like this. Like I would have tightened up my stomach and tightened up my shoulders to then try to figure out how to control it when I was feeling tight. What I realized after getting to this competition and playing maybe the worst that I've ever played was that by practicing tight, I had no way of dealing with actually being tight. I just made myself even tighter and even more nervous as a result. So after that point, which was almost 10 years ago now, I realized that what I needed to do was I needed to practice in a loose way so that when I got into the heat of the moment, whether it's in a competition, whether it's on stage, whether it's for my family, whoever it is that you're playing for, you have this kind of this calling card that you can come back to, this relaxed way of playing, this physical memory of playing in a relaxed way, okay? So back to the Haydn. that first bow change was always really difficult for me. And so what I realized was I needed to learn exactly how smooth and how relaxed my hand could be. You see my fingers just going up and back like that? Okay, so I really had to learn kind of a roadmap of exactly how to play this movement. Okay, so the next thing that I wanted to do was that once I had figured out how to have a nice relaxed bow, and I can talk about that more in a future video if people would like. The next thing I wanted to do, which is so important, is that I wanted to figure out to make my left hand relax too. Because as much as we try to get our hands to do different things, you know, sometimes we want our left hand to be really singing and very lush, and we want our right hand to be strong. As much as we try to get them to do different things, they really inform each other, right? So I figured that if I wanted my right hand to be relaxed, I also had to know how my left hand would be relaxed, okay? And for me personally, I think this is the case for a lot of violinists. What I realized was my thumb needed to be not back, but it needed to be up a little bit, because by having it up, that made my vibrato a lot smoother, okay? But if it was back, da, 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 you see how it just creates a little more tension in my hand, right? So, at the front of that page, at the top of Opus 76, number 5, the slow movement, I just wrote thumb. These are the three things I wrote. Thumb, right, for this, for my left hand. I wrote relaxed, and then I wrote smile, okay? And it's not that you actually have to physically smile when you're playing, but you want to sit back and you want to sort of clear your mind, okay? My mom used to say a few things to us before we would go out on stage. She would say, have fun, sing in your head, and smile when you bow. And those three things are really the most essential aspects of playing music, any music at all. And so when you're playing, especially if you're playing in a situation where you might be getting a little nervous, you want to make sure you're having fun. You want to make sure you're relaxed. You want to make sure you're smiling, even if it's just inwardly. Okay, so before I would sit down to play that, it ended like this. Very exuberantly, right? So then I would try to calm down, right? Breathe. Take a deep breath, okay? And then I would just smile to myself, smile in my head. And then remember the physical memory. Remember how I learned this bow change at the beginning, how I learned how to relax my shoulder for the opening of the bow stroke and how to relax the arm, that transition. Okay, so that is, you know what, I'll just leave it at that. I'll leave it at the preparation side of when you're nervous. And I'll make another video in a couple weeks or a week or so about in the actual moment of when you're performing, different ways to relax. I hope that was helpful. Please feel free to write if you have any questions or any other particular types of ways that you get nervous that I might be able to address. But I would really, as the overarching theme, I would like to just redefine the idea of getting nervous to being that you care. And that's a great thing. So have a great day.